Hey guys, Layles here, and welcome back to my channel. Today you're going to be seeing a shell challenge. I got it from Calibug06 on Gallery, and this is what I came up with. So if you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I said at one point my next Sims video will be a shell challenge, and then my next Sims video wasn't. And what happened was that this video was actually recorded before high school years came out. Obviously, this voiceover is much more recent. I've had issues with Audacity, and I'm hoping, if this comes out, then I got it to work. But I mean, it is what it is. I was going to do, for the next Sims video that I was going to actually put out, since high school years is on, I was going to do a build of a high school that was inspired by where I went. And I did build it. I recorded it, and what happened was half of my recording, for whatever reason, it's like the screen was black and it was only showing origin, and you can't see anything I was actually doing. So that made the first half of it just worthless almost, and I didn't want to put out like a half build when I'd already had it completed. And if you go to my gallery page, you'll find the build. You'll also find I built a field house in place of the auditorium. Obviously, it's going to still do the same things because that lot exists for a purpose within the high school years pack. But I wanted it to look closer to like what we had when I was in high school. Anyone who actually knows me will know that the school I built, while it has similarities and like you can tell that I was pulling from my high school and like what it looked like and the floor plan, they'll know that it really isn't what that school is actually like. Specifically, my high school, for being a small high school, is actually bigger, and the lot size that EA gives us, while big, is not as big as what my high school would need to actually build it. So I mean, for the game, it's a pretty big school, all on one floor, and you'll see it when I do my high school years gameplay if you watch those videos. But anyways, today, you're seeing a shell challenge, and what I tried to do was build something kind of outside of my comfort zone. So already that was why I did a shell challenge. I've never done one before, and so I was looking for one that I knew I could come up with something that wouldn't look weird. I don't know how else to say what I'm meaning there, but also would be different than what I would have just done naturally. So I thought I would try to do something that had a bit of a modern flair, like a pastel modern flair. You may not get it from my intro, but pastel is more something that I appreciate than live by. I do own a lot of pastel things now in my life, but like honestly, high school, even into college, pastel not really my jam. But I wanted something that was gonna look cutesy, but also just modern, because I build a lot of suburban stuff, and I wanted something that just felt different. I don't really know how else to say what I'm thinking, I guess, in this circumstance. But I mean, in the end, I do like what comes up. I think I envision, even though I built this, I think this was a New Crest that I did this. I want to say that it's a New Crest. I could be totally losing my mind right now and not be correct, because it's been a while. But I wanted to kind of imagine, like, I guess Twilighty, where maybe this is a modern house in the middle of the woods. I mean, that flies with the current trend for worlds for The Sims lately. And You'll see that more when I get into doing like landscaping, which is something I'm not great at, but excuse me. If you've watched my last video, you'll know that I'm recovering from having a pretty bad cold and some laryngitis. So I apologize now if I cough. It's something I'm still trying to get over, and hopefully it'll be gone soon. But continuing. So this build, the way it worked out, it's kind of like a posh one-person house. I want to say the bedroom's a loft. I guess I'll be surprised since it's been a while. But I do believe there's a downstairs bathroom and an upstairs bathroom for like privacy. So again, posh one-person house. There's like your full-on kitchen and dining room, and I believe I included like 2 office spaces. I think one I put as a fitness type deal. But I guess like this would be the home of like an influencer. So if you have Get Famous, this would probably be a cool streamer house to have. I do think I ended up putting in the video set. I don't think I did a like camera drone thing, but I think I do have the set in at the end. And I do remember I had a pool and like a kind of pretty nice backyard. But yeah, I do like this in the end. I'm not sure if maybe like the upstairs balcony is a little too much, because now I'm getting some memory back watching it. But I did do like a mini trellis, and originally I was going to just have the roof overhang. And what happened was that originally I wanted to use like that really cool fencing from Eco Lifestyle, but it was going to go through the roof. So then I pulled the roof back, because in the end I did want something that felt different, not out there. So I did this pergola with like a diagonal bit to it in like the crossing of the beams. And honestly, it might be a little too much with the roof, even though I pulled the roof back. But I just wanted something that felt different and would kind of stick out, though I like to build to fit it in, you know. And I know that I went for the hedging on the back because I like to use multiple types of fencing in any type of build that I do. I also think that helped with making it feel more private, which is another thing about fencing and why I don't tend to use all one. And even then, if I use one and it's in the backyard, I usually don't use a picket fence or something that has rails, because I like for my backyard fencing to feel like it's enclosed and private. And yeah, maybe it has a gate that goes back into a more communal space. But overall, I like it to feel the privacy and kind of feel like it's its own room. Because, you know, even in The Sims it is its own room, so might as well. So here you're seeing I'm putting in with the floor plan. And it did take some time to kind of figure out what exactly I wanted. You can't tell with the speed how sped up it is, but I wasn't sure about the bathrooms initially. I think when I first was thinking about the floor plan, I completely forgot that a bathroom was a thing, and I almost didn't include any. But then, like, as I was building, obviously, or I should say, as I was dressing, because you can't change anything about the shell itself, you can only change the interior, and you can't take out anything that was already there, typically speaking. I used the wall that was already inside. I believe it was already inside. I used that to have a little bit of a divide for going into the dining room in the backyard area. And I think that worked nice. But I really only created, 3 actual rooms with adding walls. Everything else is open. I mean, simply because the upstairs has to be kind of a loft because of the amount of room you have. Unless I could have done, 2 small rooms if we had a bigger bathroom downstairs. But I don't think that fits the vibe that I was going for as much. And, that could definitely be me and just being somebody who, connotates modern with young and not wanting to have, kids. I don't know why. That's probably really stupid. Because I do love modern stuff. And I want to have kids. I want to get married and have kids someday. So, that's weird that I'm connotating it that way. But I do think at the end, as I said, it looks nice. I can't remember looking at the landscaping now. I want to say there were no willow trees used in this. And I want to say it was all evergreen. Because the lot size, I could have used a bigger lot. This was what was available at the time that I could tell it would fit on. I want to say I used all evergreens. Because as I said before, I was kind of going for that Twilight, Cullens are in the woods, let's have a modern house surrounded by trees so we can have windows everywhere and not feel like people are spying on us. That would be how I would go about it, because I love windows, but I don't like people looking in, and I love the idea of having that kind of freedom where you don't have curtains or blinds or anything. You can just see out and don't have to worry about someone coming up and looking at whatever you're doing. That just seems like something that would be nice to me. Otherwise, what's coming up on my channel? I want to say that hopefully I will start doing my high school years and doing some gameplay for The Sims. Things that are holding me back. It's only been not that long since EA fixed a bug, which I didn't make a video about, but it was everywhere. So I'm sure if you play The Sims, you know about it. There were some sketchy things going on, and not simply just sketchy things, but also the game was breaking and messing with lifespans, which is problematic for me because I play on long lifespans. I know that not everybody does like a long lifespan. I think most people I know just play normal, and I see Simmers on YouTube do all kinds of different things, but I like long because I like to sit with The Sims. I think this is what can make it be relaxing for me, is I feel like I have enough time to really delve into where my Sim is at each point in their life stages and really flesh out good, proper storylines that match, whims originally. Now we have Wants and Fears, which honestly I've not gotten to play with that a whole lot because of the said bug, but I'm excited for that, honestly. Now you will see there is one piece of custom content, and if I can, I will link a URL to where I got this. I believe it's a Peacemaker object. I like a lot of Peacemaker custom content. So if for some reason you've never looked up Peacemaker and you love custom content, honestly do. Peacemaker's CC is top notch. To the point where when the Sims team had one of those free updates with items made by custom content creators, I believe that at least one of those items is made by Peacemaker. But top tier CC. I love their CC. I think I have at least one house in my personal save where I think at least 90%, maybe more, of the first floor is all Peacemaker custom content. Like, I know I used a living set, a dining set, and I think I used some kitchen. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that. But I want to say a good deal of it was. Other things. I just finished playing the, I guess, like, I wouldn't say first Nancy Drew game, but it is the first Nancy Drew game. The remastered version of the first Nancy Drew game. And I know that people that are watching my Sims videos, they're probably not going to be watching the Nancy Drew stuff, which, I mean, that's fine, to each your own. I do both because, I mean, obviously I do this just for fun, and I enjoy both the Nancy Drew and mystery-esque games and Sims content, because those are the kinds of games that I like to play. I mean, there's other games I want to play too. I'm thinking about doing Cattails, since everyone was on about Stray, and I don't just have money flying around to just buy games. The Nancy Drew games, those are easier for me to buy because they tend to be cheaper, but I'm sure with Stray being so new, that's still going to be pretty expensive. And then also, Cattails is kind of, like, personal to me. I mean, it's more personal to some other people than me, but I have, like, a personal connection to it, however small that connection actually is. I'll talk about it when I do that video, because I'm sure I will record that game. I don't know how many episodes I'll do of it, because it is more of a role-playing game. I mean, it's an RPG. It's basically an RPG, like if you were doing the Warrior series, but in a video game. I never read the Warrior books. I had a lot of friends who were into them. But the reason I know about Cattails, since, I mean, besides it existing and, like, you can go on Steam and look it up, is the creators actually went to my university that I attended, and they were basically, like, the head of the LAN club when I was a freshman. I think they were seniors that year. I cannot remember for the life of me, because there's kind of this blank in between freshman and junior year. I want to say by junior year I wasn't in LAN parties so much, just because most of my friends were not big into video games. Like, I have friends that play Sims, and that's kind of the extent of it. And also, the LAN club was very connected to the computer and math division, and obviously, if you've watched my videos, you know that those are not, that wouldn't be a division I would have ever really hung out in, because my degree is not from that division. But I did have, like, one close friend I still talk to who was in that division, and actually she took over LAN eventually, although, like, it was hard to keep a good idea of when LAN parties were going to happen, because it had started out when I was, like, a underclassman. It was, like, every Friday. But then by the time my friend took over, it wasn't every Friday. And I think part of that was just, like, I went to a small Christian school, and a lot of people, like, it's a stereotype, I'm going to put it this way. It's a stereotype that can be somewhat true, is that video games are not something that is forefront encouraged necessarily in Christian circles, because a lot of people associate them with violence, obviously. My parents very much associated video games with violence, and when I got old enough to really, like, see video games, which was still would have been quite young, actually, because video games were on the rise, definitely like through my childhood and like prominence and popularity. So it's just like, as soon as that became something that was obviously going to be more prevalent in my life, my parents kind of made this rule of, if it's any type of violent game, you can't play. Sims was actually a game that I wasn't allowed to play for quite a while. Like, A, because yes, it has a teen rating, and B, I think my parents just didn't want me to like wander onto things, which is like good and not bad. And honestly, I think the other thing too is a big thing that people don't realize, at least in Christian circles, is that there's this big emphasis on community, and people get scared that anything virtual is going to take community away. And I mean, there's some truth to that. There honestly, like, I would say that is correct. I think there's also the capability for video games to give like great community spaces, because you can like share content with people that you wouldn't have necessarily met before, and you can have similar interests to people. Those are things that I didn't get to have on the same level as other people around me did. So I really do value that aspect. But because of that, I do think it caused for that club to kind of dwindle and die. And that might also like have contributed to why I wasn't really very aware by the end of college of where things were at. Looking at this now, I think I might not have included the video stand. I don't see any room for it, so I doubt I did. But this would be a great build to put it in, and like you could figure something out really cool if you have Get Famous. Now I'm thinking about it, I might not have used anything from that pack, so definitely you can have some fun. Otherwise, though, cattails. So, yeah. When they created cattails, it was for their senior project, if I remember correctly, and they posted about it on our group Facebook page for that club. And I don't think my copy is a free key that they had. I really don't think it was. I have this vague memory of them putting free keys in the group page, but I bought it, and I'm really certain I bought it, because I remember making a conscious decision about buying it, now that I'm thinking about it again. But I played it like very briefly, very, very briefly, because I love RPGs, but I like having a little bit of guided direction, and I love storylines, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, oh yes, I bought it when I was buying some things from a gift card I got for Christmas, and it was the same time that I bought Undertale, which I'd already played Undertale once, but I love Undertale, and I'm remembering lots of things now. I bought Undertale and To the Moon. To the Moon is like my favorite RPG game, and it is a storyline, and does that mean it would be labeled RPG? It was made with RPG Maker, I know that much. But I love To the Moon. I will definitely play it sometime, because that game has such replayability for me personally. Undertale, I may play that at some point, because, as I said, I love Undertale. Really, really love a lot of the characters in that game. The boss, though, would definitely kill me, because, oh goodness, that boss at the end is so hard. At least it was for me. About gave me some anger issues, honestly. Yeah. So, getting close to the end, I hope you really enjoyed this build, and you feel up to date if you wanted to be up to date. So, hopefully I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully I won't be feeling or sounding as crappy next time I record. Fingers crossed, because I'm hoping to record soon. But yeah, let me know what you think, and have a great morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, and I'll catch you in the next vid. Toodles!